Welcome, Dr. Ismail.
Welcome, sir. I'm very happy to see you all, and thanks to Ramesh Aditya. For our friend Aditya to facilitate this program and the Sangam program.
Thank you. You can start now.
It's not going to be interactive. I thought it's going to be interactive. So that's the reason I was telling
Not
you.
initially. We will ask for questions once you've kind of laid the ground out.
No, you want to be me to be with soil or with earthworm? I'll start with the earthworms and then proceed into it. Basically, because I have been working on earthworms, and the trend for vermicompost has started. My research started in 1978-79 on earthworms. Now, many people have a feeling that so what if earthworms are not there in the soil? They have vermicompost with us. It's a very wrong understanding by several people that vermicompost can replace native earthworms. And healthy soil is one which has its own complete community of soil organisms living in it. When I tell about soil organisms, like there are several varieties of organisms. You have microorganisms, meso-sized organisms, macroorganisms, several groups which live over there. It's a myriad of organisms. But then why do we talk about earthworms? Why should we say that earthworms are indicators of soil fertility or friends of the farmer? The basic concept here is, when I ask somebody, okay, what did you have for lunch? People immediately say, okay, I had chawal, I had rice, I had chapati. Usually they do not say they had it with curry or dal or dahi or whatever it is. So the major component of any product normally gets represented. It's something like when I go to a farm and ask what type of farm you have, they say, I have a coconut farm. But you may also find several other trees over there. But the dominant tree being the coconut tree, they call it as a coconut farm. In the same way, a dominant feature, that is when I dig a soil, and if I happen to see an earthworm coming out of it, I presume the myriad of organisms are already living there. Deepaji, you will have to unmute yourself.
Oh my God, again.
Deepaji, your mic is disturbed.
Mute
a lot. Deepa, your mic. Yeah, thank you.
What is going on?
Deepa, your mic is continuously working. At least mute it up or silent it up.
I don't know. We are.
Then close it. Connect with some other equipment like your handphone. Now, what happens is when I use these earthworms, when I look at them, I presume that all other organisms are along with it. So that gives me a sort of a concept that when I see this as a biological indicator. Now, what's the difference between these earthworms and the earthworms which we are using it for vermicomposting purposes? Initially, when we started our research, we always believed in using local earthworms. Like I'm familiar that Lipi, who's getting connected over here, actually, she's doing a lot of work with local earthworms. So, we actually started with local earthworms because we have a variety of earthworms in our country. There are 3,500 species of earthworms in the world, and almost more than 500 species are in India. In spite of all this, one professor from Bangalore University, from Bangalore, happens to go to Germany, brings in this foreign earthworms, introduces and claims responsibility in her book that it was I who introduced these worms. Whatever it is, today it has become more like a pest rather than as an earth. Because even if you have local earthworms in your cultures, the moment you buy any dung or anything from any other source and you bring it over there, the exotic worms easily replace. We should be very clear that there are two basic concepts: the R strategy and K strategy in environment. R strategy are the fast multipliers. K strategy are slow, steady multipliers. So these exotics are R strategy. So they multiply so fast and eat away the food of the local worms that the local worms slowly start moving away or fading away from there. To make you understand, if I want, I can show you one particular slide where I can say why we call them, or how we distinguish these worms. Now, when I look at a soil system, I can broadly classify earthworms into three types. Even though you can classify there are intermediate types, strategically, based on their function, I can classify them into three types. And the first type is that which lives on the surface of the soil. on the top of the soil. Of course, they also burrow slightly, but on the top of the soil predominantly. We call them as epigeic earthworms. Geic, G-E-I-C, is derived from the term geo. Geo means earth. You know the subjects, geography, geology. So geo means earth, epi means above. So those which live on the upper surface of the soils, we call them as epigeic earthworms. A typical example of Indian earthworm is Perionyx excavatus. The second variety of earthworms are those which keep making burrows. They keep moving up and down. They keep moving up and down. They are predominantly vertical burrows. Predominantly. They also move sideways, but predominantly they are vertical. They make the burrows. These are the worms which create channels, tubes, and which facilitate movement of air, movement of nutrients, everything into the soil. The third variety of worms are those which live inside the soil. So we call them as endogeic, which means inside the soil. So you have above the soil, you have the intermediates, and you have the inside the soil worms. A combination of all these three operate in a natural ecosystem. But usually in a farming ecosystem, we usually find the surface and the middle, or the middle and the bottom. Depends on, because the surface worms are usually prone to various climatic conditions. Functionally, what do they do? The surface worms actually are the ones which make use of all the litter, all the dung, everything which is on the surface of the soil, and convert it into a manure. The worms which are in the middle column, they keep moving up and down, creating channels, creating all these benefits for the soil. The third ones soften the soil. Even feeding habit-wise, the worms at the base, they are geophagic, which means they eat soil. Soil which is rich in organic matter. So they eat soil, they excrete soil, but the soil which comes out with extra nutrients, they take the organic matter. The ones on the surface, we call them as phytophagic, which means they eat litter and all those things, macerate it, and then pass it on. The in-betweens are a combination of both. They are geophytophagic. There is a combination of soil as well as this. These are the most important worms for any soil ecosystem, even though a combination is important. So, unfortunately, the worms which are used for vermicompost are only the surface worms. So they can produce compost, but they are not useful for the soil. So whatever organic approach you may do, whatever way of functioning you may do, till you get your own native earthworms in your soil, the soil cannot be pronounced as healthy. The basic concept here I want our dear friends who are listening to us to understand is a great difference between the concept of soil fertility and soil health. Basically, when I tell soil fertility, what has happened over a period of time is, when you give a sample of the soil to analysis takes place, and they don't stop with the analysis. They will give you NPK, micronutrients, and pH and EC. And then they add up at the bottom recommendations. And they suggest add so much of urea, so much of DAP. Whereas, so what has happened is in the course of time, soil fertility has been related with fertilizers. To avoid that, we talk about soil health. Now, if you look at these earthworms, these are the local worms, which are dominant, especially in South India. North, you get different species of earthworms, of course. So you get the epigeics, the anasics, and the endogeics. For the benefit of all our friends who are watching it, who are interested in earthworms, the epigeics will be darker in color. The endogeics usually will be slightly paler in color, and anasics intermediate. Why so? Because we are aware that when we get towards the sun, we got to get tanned, right? The same way. Remember that. Now, these are the three worms which normally happen. And these earthworms, especially when you talk about local worms, I am very particular that a good non-chemical farmer or one who is really interested in soil should always promote local varieties of worms, because if you have red soil, for example, and the soil is acidic, slightly acidic, you find specific earthworms for those places. The earthworm which you see on the screen now is Octochetona serrata. If you look at the species, you will find the calciferous glands, beautiful, bright, white calciferous glands here. So when an earthworm consumes acidic soil, the calciferous glands secrete calcium hydroxide into it. So this calcium hydroxide neutralizes the soil. And as this neutralized soil starts going into the gut, the castings which are produced by the earthworms are almost near neutral. They become an excellent fertilizer for the growth of plants in those regions. This is how the earthworms make burrows. So you have organic matter. So in case you have a good soil, take a profile of the soil. You can see such beautiful channels created by earthworms. So what is the advantage? One is air. The second is every earthworm produces 4 types of materials from its body. It produces its urine, it produces its feces, it produces a fluid called a coelomic fluid, it produces mucus. Now these 4 solutions, when they mix together, and as the earthworm moves into the burrows, and as it lubricates these burrows with its secretions, they become a beautiful plates where microbes start multiplying. There's a beautiful symbiotic relationship which exists in the soil fauna in providing this. This is what is the difference between the two. Soil without soil organisms and soil with soil organisms. You find activity happening, you find churning happening, you find mobility of materials and how materials get incorporated into the soil, improving soil health. When you look at an earthworm, this is how an earthworm works. It consumes the food is crushed. After being crushed, is digested. After digestion, it enters the intestine. Predominantly carbon. But every segment has nephridia, kidney-like structures, which pour urea inside it. So urea and carbon, CN combines, and the vermicasting which comes out is very rich in nutrients. Now, this is why we say that earthworms contribute. This is the basic life cycle of an earthworm. An earthworm produces cocoons. From the cocoon, the young one is born, juvenile. It takes around 2 to 2.5 weeks. And the juvenile then starts growing. We call them as non-titelates. That means they are grown, but they're not mature. Until you observe the ring-like clitellum which comes in the front side of the earthworm. So once the clitellum comes, we presume that the earthworm is now mature. After maturity, earthworms mate. Here an important thing I have to tell many people, that earthworms, there are no separate genders as male and female. Each earthworm has both male and female. Even though each earthworm has both male and female, you require 2 earthworms to mate. Self-fertilization is extremely rare. Some people have noticed it in Icenia fetida, but it's extremely rare. So after mating, they separate. And if you presume the cocoon, the clitellum, it produces a sort of a membrane which moves and becomes the cocoon. And that's how they mate, earthworms mate. There's the head on one side, the tail on the other end. Other earthworm with the head on one side, tail on the other end. They mate and exchange their gametes. Actually, they exchange only sperms. They don't fertilize. They exchange sperms. After that, the sperms are stored in separate chambers. And as the eggs move, ovum moves, these sperms fertilize them. And that produces what is called as a cocoon. These are the cocoons. So when you look at cocoons per se, again, each division, each ecological strategy has a different type of a cocoon. If you have the surface earthworms, epigeics, then the cocoons are small and you will find hairy ends. You can find if you can look at carefully at the cursor I'm now pointing, That's the cocoon of Uterus eugenie. You find hair-like structures, projections. Now, these are sticky projections which get attached to leaf litter and other components. This is how they stay over there. And usually, epijakes produce large number of cocoons. Why? Simple. Because birds feed on them, centipedes feed on them, lots of soil organisms keep feeding on them. At the same time, even if they are born, several organisms feed on these juvenile earthworms. So, epigeic earthworms produce large number of young ones. The second group are these medium-sized cocoons. Now, these are medium-sized. Usually, they produce 2 or 3 young ones per cocoon. Whereas the ones which are laid in the bottom by the endogeic earthworms, they are very big, very safe. So they are not afraid. Very rarely they get eaten up. So they are being protected. Whatever it is, from the cocoons, the young one is born this way. This is how the young earthworm gets. It's a very simple story. Like you can use perionyx excavators. It's a beautiful species, as you find 2 of our members who have now just logged in. Lippy, I think, is still there. She uses perionyx and lampi. We actually recommend a combination of perionyx excavators and Lampito mauritii, a combination of both earthworms, which are very good for composting. In fact, this is used in foreign countries and is called as Indian blue. Unfortunately, we get attracted to exotic species like Icenia fetida. North India uses most of Icenia fetida because this is an European species. So it can also tolerate lower temperatures. And slightly below the central India, people always prefer to use Uterus eugenie. This is an African earthworm. You call it as it is generally called as the African night crawler. That's the common name for this is African night crawler. The other one is European one is also, this one is also called as a red wriggler. I hope many of you would have got a question by now because one particular group of non-chemical farmers claim that earthworms are toxic, they produce heavy metals. An earthworm does not have any potential to produce heavy metal. Every organism has heavy metals in its body. You and I, we also have cyanide in our body, we have gold in our body, we have silver in our body, but we do not keep producing these things. Earthworms excrete what they consume. So in case the material given to them has heavy metals for consumption, if the dung or the organic matter provided for composting has heavy metals in it, then the byproduct will also have heavy metals in it. So you have to be very careful with it. Fine. Vermicomposting is very simple. You just see to it that you have the dung, preferably dung, or a combination of litter and dung, leaf litter and dung, and you first ferment it up, so that the heat is lost from that. Because if it is hot, because any organic matter, if you put it together and leave it over there, it generates a lot of heat in it. So if you put earthworms in it, earthworms will die. So you have to allow it to get cooled. And once it gets cooled, you put in it earthworms and leave dry cow dung pads on it. You find beautiful culture of earthworms. It's as simple as when they start planting. And we know how we make our own cow dung. We do it beautifully. We keep producing cow dung. But unfortunately, what happens to our rural economy? What happens to our rural economy? In spite of all the hard labor they do, it is being sold by major companies. Bought at a very low price and marketed at a very high price. Now, this is what is vermicompost. That's what is vermicompost. It's a very simple process. What I would like to mention to all those people watching and want to make yourself good manure for your soils, make your soils healthy. Because, like you always know that people in those days used to refer mitti ki khushbu. That is, you get the soil aroma, the smell. But nowadays we don't get it. Now, this mitti ki khushbu is because of soil microorganisms. There should be enough organic matter in it. So in case you're going to use your leaf litter, please remember, the greener the leaf, there is more nitrogen in it. The drier the leaf litter, becoming a sort of a litter, more carbon in it. That's the reason why when you take materials, see to it that you have all these materials with you. It can be anything. It can be anything. Many people ask me, sir, can I use this leaf? For example, neem ya karanj, because you use it for biopesticides or pest repellents. So can I use this leaf litter? Can neem ka pata main istemal kar sakta hoon? Can I use karanj or pungemia? Yes, but not just neem. It can be part of the whole system which you are preparing. You should not use just neem leaves, because the microbes will not multiply very fast in it. Even nature, if you walk through the fields, you will find it drops green and combination of green and brown leaves. It doesn't drop just brown leaves. To enable decomposition, enable multiplication of microbes. So very simple. I'm just teaching you the basic principles here. Very simple. You don't need to worry about big costs or this and that. Just take some old branches or twigs from the tree, put them haphazard. Recommended size is 6 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. So you put 6 feet long, 4 to 5 feet wide. Length can be any length, of course. You can also put for 20 feet long. It doesn't matter. It all depends on how you're going to manage it. And then you take a lot of leaf litter. We're aware, the more you try to shred them, the surface area increases. So you try to put them. Yes, but you have to add microbial inoculum. Immediately companies come and pounce on you and say that you got to buy this from me, you got to buy that from me. Not necessary. The most beautiful inoculum which I have found over a period of years is diluted cow dung. Just take fresh cow dung, dilute in water, sprinkle over there, build up to about 5 feet height. That is, you have to put several layers. Put a layer of about 1 foot, sprinkle the dung liquid, again put 1 foot, sprinkle the dung liquid. Already you would have calculated can have 4 layers. No. As you sprinkle and as you add, you'll be surprised to find that you'll be adding 6 to 8 layers. So once you finish the whole thing, preferably because I work in Chennai, our temperature is very hot, we prefer to loosely cover it with a polythene sheet. Because it's so hot that water evaporates away. If water evaporates, microbial activity cannot take place. So what we do is when we loosely cover it with a polythene sheet, the internally generated heat, any organic matter, when you do a proper processing, will generate heat because it's aerobic process of composting. We don't seal with the polythene sheet. We keep it loose, open. So air as it enters and the aerobic process goes on, the heat is there, the water evaporates. This water evaporates and goes and sticks on the base of the polythene sheet. In the night, when the weather goes cool, the same water again percolates back into the pile. As the water moves, along with the water, microbes move. So microbial action is, is improved. And gradually you find that the internal temperature starts increasing. In about 3 to 5 days, you will find temperatures going to 60, 62 degrees Celsius. Excellent. Why is it excellent? Because all the unwanted pathogens, unwanted pests, unwanted seeds, they disintegrate. So it also artificially sterilizing the process with only good ones to continue. So this happens, and after about 12 to 15 days, we make a turnover of the whole pile. When we do a turnover of the pile, steam comes out. Steam can also be used for other purposes. Steam comes out, and then the pile goes down slowly, gradually. In about 30 to 40 days, you find that the pile is completely low. Take it, loosely shake it up, pass it through a coarse sieve, and then that you give it to the earthworms. The earthworms eat it, and what they produce, you sieve it, and that is vermicompost. It's a very simple process. This is what I want you people to say, do is, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. It is not necessary that you should buy everything every time from market. Market is always there. But our main aim from the time we started working on non-chemical agriculture is Not to pull a farmer from a chemical market and direct him to an organic shop, but to pull a farmer from the chemical shop and make the farmer independent. That's the basis of the whole.
Thank you. That was a really fascinating kind of dip into the world of vermicomposting. And to begin with, I didn't know that there were so many types of earthworms, and simple things like, the color of the earthworm tells you that which part of the soil it occupies. I mean, there are so many bits of information that have come through in this lecture, and I'm sure some of us here have got excited by some part of it, if not the other. And at the end of this, we will also give a kind of context. So if you want to get in touch with us regarding more information on vermicomposting, we'll connect you up with Dr. Ismail. But having said that, Dr. Ismail, I have another question for you. A question that is, so how do you know, I mean, this is based on all your travels and looking at the soil in different parts of the country and different conditions of soil. How do you know that this soil is poor quality, it doesn't have enough nutrients in it? Does the color of the soil tell you? Does the dampness of the soil tell you? Or can you be mistaken in something like that?
That's a very good question. In fact, the problem is, it's something like your experience with the soil tells you whether the soil is nutrient rich or not. Somehow I'm able to distinguish these soils by just smelling at the soil and finding out whether the soil is rich or not. It's something like our elders at home, our mothers in those days will be sitting and talking. Suddenly they will say, chawal ho gaya. Yeah, the rice is cooked. I must go and take it out. The smell, the fragrance which comes at a particular stage of the rice cooking, they know that the rice is cooked. In the same way, a soil, when it is rich with organic matter and soil organism, gives a different sort of a smell, a different sort of an aura, a different sort of an aroma which comes out of it. And that's how we are able to distinguish, which farmers are very clear. But for homemakers who would like to go in for your kitchen gardens or who would like to do terrace gardens, or those who are new to farming, and the basic simple thing which I tell you are two experiments. One, take soil, put it on your hand. Add little bit of water to make it like a dough. There's a roti ko banate hain, puri or roti, you make the dough. In the same way, put soil and make it as a dough. Take this dough between your finger and your thumb and make it into a wick. Keep on making. I'm not able to make it into a wick at all. I'm unable to make a wick. Means your soil is characteristically dominated by sand, which means there will be no water retention capacity, no enough organic matter. It may not be able to sustain itself. You're taking a wick and you are able to make a wick. The wick is going on increasing to about 2 inches or so. That means the soil is predominantly clay. Now, if there's so much of clay in it, then water retention will be there. Even in your pots, if you leave it over there, then the pot will be filled up with water and the water may not leach out from there. Right? So it's predominantly clay. You are able to make a wick. After about half an inch or 1 inch, it keeps breaking. It keeps breaking. You are making, but it's breaking. Excellent soil. It is a loamy soil. These soils generally support very good, healthy plant growth. Very simple. Second, most important thing, for those who have farms, and those of you participants who are watching us, who have farms, who have soils, just take a cow with you for a walk. Allow the cow to put its droppings, dung. Leave the dung there itself. Don't go and pick up the dung. Leave the dung there itself. Now, when you leave the dung there itself, if the dung in 2-3 days goes dry like a pat, like the pat, it goes dry, that means your soil is having a problem. There is no moisture in it. There are no soil organisms in it. If the dung crumbles into small pieces and bits, that means your soil is healthy. There is enough material down. There is enough moisture and organisms are acting on it. This could be a very good sort of a hint from which you can identify that your soil is quite good. If in case your soil is poor, then you can keep adding organic matter and enrich it gradually. That's the way you are supposed to.
Wow, this is great. I mean, to know that the dung can be a bioindicator for soil
Bioindicator.
quality,
Yes, Professor. Yes.
it's great. Just like you were saying that earthworm itself is a bioindicator, here for people like us who won't be able to, I kind of distinguish between the different kinds of earthworm. We know what dung is. It's something that I should also have a look at
There
sometime.
are several such things. In fact, many farmers, they may have a secret question that this guy has come to talk about soil, but I have pest attacks, and what can I do for pest attacks? Then, the best thing I recommend people is to take advice from a very learned professor, and that is Professor Goat. Goat eats all sorts of plants. A plant which a goat does not eat has pest repellent properties. That is why we call the plant Ada Toda. The name comes from Tamil literature. In Tamil literature, Ada Toda means Aadu Todadadu, which means a goat doesn't touch. If you can take a goat for a walk, identify 4 or 5 varieties of plants which a goat is not eating, take one handful of those leaves, crush them, put them in a pot, put water into it, ferment it for a week or 10 days, take back the water, add a little bit of cow's urine, dilute and spray. It's a broad spectrum pest repellent. So, there are several such indicators which are available in nature. Only thing is we got to keep our eyes open. All have eyes, very few have vision. So have your vision open.
One of the learnings that is coming out of this talk is that if we have our senses open, we can make out a lot of what's happening in the world around us, in the natural world especially.
True.
And as we go, I mean, many of us who are interested in agriculture or farming, many of us are making the shift. We learn the hard way that it's important to keep our eyes and senses open.
Yes.
Just hearing you in this short time of the last 30 minutes or so, and I'm thinking 40 minutes, this has been amazing. To know just things like how a goat can be an indicator of which are pest repellent plants, how the cow dung itself can be an indicator of the quality of the soil. I'm sure there are a lot more like this, but I now ask the others in the audience if you have any questions to Dr. Ismail.
True.
Vijay, are you going to be collecting the questions and asking, or can the...
Yeah, sure. I can do that. As and when question comes, I'll post them to you. I do have a question for Dr. Ismail.
Start, Vijay.
Sir, there are many indicators, like the simple indicator that you mentioned about take a goat and take Dr. Goat to
Professor Goat.
for a field visit, and whatever plant she doesn't eat, other plants to be used as a biorepellent. Now, these are very common indicators for a good farm practices to they used to be used. These are all traditional practices being used. Now, we know that over time, traditional practices do go into disuse and not there. But in case of soil, what are these similar indicators? You mentioned some indicators using cow dung, but what are the other similar indicators to understand what is the health of soil from your experience?
Health of soil is basically the presence of earthworms. That's the first criteria. That's the reason we call it as a friend of the farmer. The second is that a soil should be naturally water should not stagnate as such on the soil, which means there's enough potential for the water to percolate, and the soil porosity and the water holding capacity are clearly balanced. Otherwise, if water stagnation takes place, the roots will deteriorate, and thereby saplings especially, they would not be able to survive. So these are all small criteria which are always there. There are some plants which may have different types of soils. In case I want to have plants with from where I'm going to harvest from the roots, like potatoes or which have rhizomes, right? They require a loose soil. Like, for example, where they can expand themselves. whether it is your tapioca or potato or carrot or mumpali, all these things they require. So the soil should be slightly sandy for them. Whereas in the case of paddy, the entire thing comes above, where you require a mixed soil, which is very good. And in fact, one more thing which I wanted to caution here is, many of our so-called scientists who travel abroad and come and advise our people in India, they have a sort of adversity towards this trenches which they make in between fields. We call them as Varapu in Tamil. Like every field will be divided into small pockets and people walk on those walking path-like structures. Now, when a long study was done by Calicut University, a complete study when they did, what happens is, especially because when you grow paddy and water stagnation takes place, and this water, when you stagnate over there, to hold the water. So that's the reason we prefer clay soil for paddy. When the water stays over there, these organisms cannot survive. So they start moving into those trenches and they stay over there. And as the water level goes down and deterioration of material of the detritus starts to start, these organisms come and work again. So these are all traditional wisdom which came into us. This one.
You did, if I can interrupt, you did mention, Dr. Ismail, that there are certain soils which require, certain crops which require sandy soil, like groundnut, tapioca, and so on. So what is the question that has come up here is, what is an indicator for sandy soil, which is good for, say, groundnut?
The sandy soil for groundnut. No, ऐसा नहीं है. Today you can actually grow lots of crops even in any type of soil by slightly modifying, by making raised beds. Because, like I cannot tell a farmer who is already purchased a piece of land and whose soil is not cooperating to grow vegetables, you sell the land. I cannot tell that. So what we advise is either go for double digging gardening, where double digging loosens the soil and you increase the level of the soil above the normal level as a loose mound. And on top of it, you start growing. So you have to start modifying the soil gradually with whatever materials you have and gradually build up organic matter into it, and that helps growing all these crops.
No, the question was, what can be an indicator for soil fertility in cases where you need some element of a sandy element in the soil? For example, growing groundnut.
You just got to make it as a wick, and if it is not growing more than 1 inch, then it is a good soil for growing these things.
Okay, so it's the same kind of indicator as the wick indicator.
These are all shortcut methods. If they want, they can give the soil for analysis, and then they can also take a sort of our water. We can also have water filtrations, porosity tests. All this can be done. We have modified systems also available.
Anybody else in the group? Any other questions? This was a question that had come from Ritu, but anybody else? Is color also an indicator of soil fertility? Ritu is asking.
No. Color is not indicator of soil fertility at all, because soil color, in fact, long ago, there's a color chart available which shows about colors. Even within a small campus, which is about, for example, a university campus, you will find 20 varieties of soil based on color. So color is not an indicator of soil fertility. Predominant soils are available. It is not the color which reflects it. You see, depending upon the organic matter, sometimes the soils may be darker in color. Those soils are good. Or we classify based on easy ideas. We say red soil, black soil, brown soil, in that way. Usually black soils are cotton soils, black cotton soil. That's how people refer to, because cotton can grow over there. So there are so many methods by which we try to guess it, but you cannot pinpoint and say that this soil is like that. It's not possible.
Okay. There's another question that's come in. What are traditional methods to know soil deficiency in minor minerals?
That's only by the leaves. The leaves, how they try to reflect. The leaves growing yellow, the deficiency of either potash, or it can be some of the minerals like borons. There are several leaf cards which are available, and they can buy it and they can use those leaf cards to compare. And nowadays apps have come and they can just download that app and just focus it on that and they can guess it. But it will not necessarily be appropriate. It can be a guess because the deficiency of more than one product can also result in some sort of changes, and it need not be an accurate reflection. This is what people have to remember, the card systems.
Okay. And another question, what is the future of monocropping on soil health?
This has been discussed several times, like, for example, people say that organic farming means just going, non-chemical farming means just going and dumping compost and using pest repellents is organic farming. It is not so. Its biodiversity is required for organic farming, which has not been considered because people are only gradually now starting to move towards non-chemical farming. So if we insist them that you stop growing paddy and start growing only a diverse variety of crops, then people are not listening to. It is always better to have a diversity of crops for the soil, especially at least go through crop rotation, because the pulses like groundnuts and other things can generate a lot of nitrogen. And then you go in for paddy or wheat, it will give you more amount of nutrients because the nutrients will be given by rhizobial bacteria, which try to work with symbiotic relationships with crops like pulses and peanuts. So crop rotate, that probably gradually we'll have to bring in. It's something like plastic. You cannot say stop plastic from tomorrow. There can only be a gradual removal of plastic. At the moment, it can be judicious use of plastic. So today it is judicious use of type of crops.
Okay. Is it one? Yes, this is a question that also it just came to my mind. Like there is in Punjab, there is this increasing threat of soil desertification. Parts of it are happening already. Some districts are already facing it in a big way. How do you see this kind of situation being handled?
No, Punjab is a classic study. Punjab, if you go to Bathinda, the soil has become almost white in color. Bathinda, the soil is almost white in color. I have been there. I have seen the situations over there. And when the wind blows, it just blows out like fly ash. It is so much deteriorated, and that leads to desertification. Now, gradual incorporation of organic matter can definitely bring back these soils. Because we have worked with sodic soils. We have worked with sodic soils in Uttar Pradesh and other places. We were able to recover soils with the help of organic matter inputs and productivity. That's the same experiment which I was about to do it for China, but because of the international relationships between the two countries, I was not able to start that mega project over there.
So you say you use the word sodic soil. Does it mean it has something to do with soda, high quantity of
sodium content is
sodium,
high.
yeah. Right. Okay. There's another question that had come. Two more. One is a good manure for soil health, improving soil health, which even to somebody untrained like me, I would feel maybe is there a kind of universal manure for all kinds of soil, or
manure jo hota na, you have to be very careful. The only thing is, like manure, we call it as farmyard manure in those days. If it is a farmyard manure from a cattle shed and other things, there's nothing to worry. Only thing is sometimes it may produce a lot of weeds in the field because it may have some seeds which are dormant in the manure. But you have to be careful where you purchase the manure from, because nowadays many people are making manure and selling it. If manure by any chance has any heavy metals in it, then there's a possibility of heavy metals entering into the food ecosystem. So that you have to be a bit careful. Otherwise, there's nothing to worry. Any manure you want, you can use. Cow dung manure, buffalo manure, goat dung manure, human waste manure, leaf litter manure, you name it, you can use it. Green manure. Please don't insist on one variety. In fact, in that book, Man Makkal Mahsul, my last chapter is every individual is a scientist. Don't try to follow somebody. You have your own vision. You have your own way of handling things. By doing one or two mechanisms and combinations, you will come across how to manage your own soils. There's nothing to worry about.
Okay. And come back to another issue, which is like the desertification issue, the nitrate poisoning issue over the high use of nitrogen in the soil and water. Is there some way that can be kind of tackled, or traditional methods which help like
Nitrate
that?
poisoning is happening more in water because this nitrate, when it enters the water, it enhances production of nitrate acting bacteria. And when children drink this water, it affects their digestive system and their gut flora, causing a lot of problems for small children. So it is not just nitrate being used in the soil, but the runoff has been causing more damage to people. Unfortunately, nitrate combinations are going on increasing, 17, 17, 17, 20, 20, 20. They are going on increasing. In fact, much of it is lost. Much of it is leached out because the plants cannot take it. Now we are going one more step ahead, which I want to caution people is the government of India is now going into nano-based sprays, nano-based combinations where you will use drones and spray this urea, which is nano-based, which will be slow releasing. All these claims have been made, but finally where this will land up, where it will go, and how the drones will straight away put only on the soil and not on people, these are all the questions which are yet to be answered. We always learn to do mistakes and then regret. That's the problem we face in our country.
Wow, that is, I mean, to move from tradition to drones in one short conversation, it tells us actually the kind of challenges that are being faced today.
Professor Surajit, one important caution I would like to tell everybody here is any technology that is being developed in farming should assist the farmer, not replace the farmer. Any technology, it should assist the farmer, not replace the farmer. People are trying to replace the farmer. They want to bring IoT, they want to bring AI into farming systems where you just sit down in the room and operate the switches and the whole thing will function. This may be suitable for some high-end farms, but not for the common farmer in our country. Because our country is dominated by lots of small farmers.
Yes, and in fact, there's this very, it reminds me of a statement that had come many decades ago, in which it was mentioned that farming is too important to be left to the farmers, and that led to the last 2 or 3 decades of confusion and of disaster in the farm. But anyway, be that, sorry.
And the people who brought it were calling it as Green Revolution and now want to rename it as Evergreen Revolution.
So let us hope that by looking back at tradition, what we're going to try and do is also, what you brought out very neatly. And I remember the example you did of the plastic cover you put in Chennai over when you're creating a kind of biome for the microorganisms that are creating the manure. That is such a simple, beautiful, but it's a complete ecology in itself under that covering, which in a 24-hour period it takes them to the whole cycle, which allows the manure to be kind of created by processing the litter, processing the waste material, and reducing it to the kind of form and shape and quantity, and also gets rid of the unwanted organisms at the same time. Actually, that is one of the beauties about traditional methods, about natural methods, because it comes out of observing what's happening to nature around us. And even examples, like what you said, drawing upon that very idea and bringing it forward is I think, a very intelligent counter to the kind of stress on high tech that's happening today in more and more areas, including in agriculture. There is another question I think that has come up right now. There are regional practices of increasing soil fertility like Chaumasa and Bundelkhand, where they leave the field for rainwater to collect. Are there any other similar practices that you're aware of? The whole idea of letting the field like fallow and so on and so forth.
Kerala has a very unique practice. Kerala, what they do is the paddy fields near the seashore. They do paddy cultivation, and during a particular season, they put sluice gates and allow the seawater to enter into the paddy fields. Not direct seawater, but backwaters. Now, these backwaters carry along with them tiny larvae of prawns and shrimps. And then they close the sluice gate. they culture the plant, and the decomposition of the rice stubs provides nutrition for the prawns and crabs to multiply. And then they open the sluice gate with a mesh over there. The water flows away. They harvest the prawns and crabs, sell it, again grow paddy into it. So there are indigenous practices available in different places. I'm not very familiar with all the practices, but this is one example I've liked.
Yeah, this is from Kutanad, I think,
Yeah,
the Kayal Neelam area from there. Yeah. Anybody else, any other questions? Otherwise, I think we've actually had a very interesting conversation, which has brought once again to attention the whole idea of looking at tradition in a holistic way by seeing how tradition essentially is observation of the entire world around us, and then drawing our own conclusions from it. And thank you very much, Dr. Ismail, for actually highlighting this element.
I'd just like to wind up with one particular note that we have been too anthropocentric. Let us move towards ecocentric.
I think that's a great point to end this. Thank you all for being part of this talk today. Any other last question before we call it an evening?
Thanks to all the participants for having joined us. And it was beautiful interacting with you, Professor. And
thank you. Symbiocentric completion.
Okay, then. Thank you very much and take care. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Dr. Ismail. Thank you all for a lovely evening.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a better evening ahead.
Oh,
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.